The lives of the country's legends were more chaotic, bizarre, and haunting than we could have ever dreamed. Hidden behind the rhinestones, tour buses, and Opry spotlights. One such narrative, modest, intimate, and completely unexpected, was carried for years by Loretta Lynn, the gutsy voice behind so many songs that convey the truth. It took place in a memory-filled space designed for music. Even the most grounded people paused when she eventually told them what she had seen. Was it sentimentality, imagination, or something that no microphone could record? She was shaken by whatever it was. Why did Loretta decide to speak out at that moment? And what transpired in that studio? Roots in Butcher Hollow. The narrative of Loretta Lynn starts in Butcher Hollow, a remote area of Van Lear, Kentucky, where poverty was the norm rather than the exception. She was the second of 8 kids living in a cramped, uncomfortably tiny cottage. The residences, the general store, and even the money used, scrip, kept people like the Webbs reliant and suffering. The town was owned by a coal corporation that essentially controlled every aspect of life. Loretta understood what hardship meant from an early age. During the frigid Appalachian winters, she slept on the floor with her brothers, covered in blankets. In addition to making her challenging, these events gave her the perseverance she would need for the rest of her life. Her health challenges. Serious health issues that revealed the harsh reality of rural life also characterized her childhood. To save her hearing after she had a severe ear infection as a toddler, doctors had to drill holes into her skull. This excruciating, antiquated process highlighted how serious her health was. Her mother went 10 miles every day to be with her daughter since she couldn't afford to stay at the hospital. Later, Loretta returned to the hospital due to a leg infection, highlighting once again how hazy the boundary between tragedy and survival was. Long before Loretta ever set foot on a stage, it was circumstances like those, which were not strictly physical tests, that instilled in her a sense of profound resilience and a fighting mentality. Her calling. It was under these challenging conditions that Loretta found music, not just a haven, but a calling. Her early stage appearances were lullabies sung to younger siblings on the rickety wooden porch down in the hollows. Fame in Nashville weren't aspirations when she was growing up. She had no formal training and no instruments, so her voice was her sole means of expression. It carried so powerfully across the hills that people from adjacent farms would stop to listen. This little but significant boost in confidence was what she needed. Her voice became more than just a source of solace to others during those ordinary times. It became her escape. Throughout her life, Loretta remained loyal to her origins. Often returned to her roots. She never allowed prosperity to sever her connection to Butcher Hollow, as she was proud of her modest upbringing. She often referred back to her origins in interviews and in her songs, most notably in Coal Miner's Daughter, which played a crucial role in establishing her reputation and legacy. She never exalted her past, even when benefits and recognition were abundant. Instead, she kept it as a reminder of her origins and her progress. However, circumstances thrust her into a position that no girl should have to deal with at such a young age, just as her voice was starting to soar over the hills. A teenage bride. Loretta Lynn's marriage to Oliver Doolittle Lynn, at a time when most females were still navigating puberty, influenced her abrupt and complicated transition into adulthood. Official records ultimately verified that Loretta was 15, despite her frequent claims that she was married at 13. This made her a very young and unprepared bride for the realities of married life. Such early partnerships were common in rural Kentucky during the mid-20th century, particularly when parents gave their consent that didn't imply they were desirable. Her parents vehemently opposed the union. Her father continued to be emotionally distant from Doolittle, and her mother refused to sign any legal forms or attend the wedding. In what was by no means a fairy tale start, these early indications of stress hinted at the difficulties Loretta would soon encounter. The relationship was fraught. The relationship was unstable right from the start. Doolittle violently assaulted Loretta on their wedding night because of a trivial disagreement. This would be the beginning of many incidents of domestic violence. The marriage was unstable since Doolittle was regularly unfaithful, frequently drank excessively, and vanished for long periods. However, amid all this turmoil, Loretta discovered an inner resilience that would shape her public persona in the years to come. If he hit me, I'm gonna hit him back. She retaliated. She didn't remain silent. She refused to be victimized by anybody and said simply in interviews, "If he hit me, I'm gonna hit him back." She became sympathetic to other ladies going through similar home troubles as a result of this undertone in her songs. Ironically, she was first exposed to music by the same guy who caused her so much emotional suffering. Doolittle purchased Loretta a $17 guitar and urged her to pursue singing professionally after seeing her skill and wanting to compete with the ladies he heard on the radio. Loretta was a busy young mother at the time who lacked confidence in her voice and had no aspirations of becoming a famous person. Doolittle also drove her from radio station to radio station, taking care of her early appointments. What started as his project quickly turned into her calling. Loretta discovered her voice in addition to a job. Taking charge of her life and work. Loretta gradually took control of her life and her career. Although her rise in the country music business also served as a means of achieving self-determination, she always acknowledged Doolittle's early impact on her career. In brutally honest ways, the intricacies of their relationship were reflected in Loretta's lyrics. Songs like Don't Come Home A-Drinkin' and Fist City were poetic blueprints of her life with Doolittle, not nebulous character studies. She transformed those painful experiences into songs that were loud and clear, addressing women worldwide. To avoid breaking her children's hearts and to maintain her conviction that Doolittle had a right to her affection, Loretta remained in the marriage for decades. Mothership amidst hardship. Loretta Lynn's early and quick motherhood shaped a large portion of her early adult life. She took on the enormous task of raising a family while juggling the instability of her marriage to Doolittle. And by the time she was 22, she had already given birth to 4 children. Because her husband was often out at work or going on extended drinking binges, Loretta Lynn was left to handle childcare and home chores nearly exclusively. She ran a home in near-total isolation, carried buckets of water to cook and clean, and laundered cloth diapers by hand. Due to their restricted means, Loretta and her kids managed to subsist for over 2 weeks on dandelions during one especially dire period. In silence and with grit. These severe adversities, which she endured in solitude and with perseverance, influenced the genuineness of her songs. Relentless pregnancies and inadequate medical treatment also hurt her health. Following the birth of her second child, Loretta had 2 miscarriages and a potentially fatal case of blood poisoning. She was unable to pay for a hospital stay, so she had to recuperate at home without medical assistance. She later needed an emergency C-section when her third kid was born. Loretta was alone in the hospital, drugged, in agony, and without her husband's support, since Doolittle was out logging in the forest and couldn't be reached. Emotionally and physically draining. Experiences that were emotionally and physically taxing honed her deep empathy and broadened her emotional palette, enabling her to craft potent songs. Sometimes fame served as a stabilizing force, while at other times it was the cause of destruction. Having 6 children and becoming a famous person was no simple task. Her twins were born at the same time that Loretta's singing career started to take off. She pushed herself to be happy about their arrival, even though she was first depressed at the idea of juggling traveling with 6 kids. She was stuck severely by emotional separation right away. Later on, Betty Sue, her daughter, would recollect tales of her mother going on tours, departures that caused Loretta so much suffering that they became enduring memories she carried with her for the rest of her life. The conflict that vexed her heart. Loretta repeatedly acknowledged that her fame was the most significant disadvantage. This internal struggle manifested in the eerie voice and lyrics of her songs. Songs filled with ardent mother love, weariness, and desire. The immense emotional burden of parenthood gave rise to many of Loretta's most iconic and contentious songs. Her life's reality of endless pregnancies and the urgent yearning to restore autonomy was directly addressed by the song The Pill. which expressly respected women's right to manage their fertility. More than 60 radio stations banned the music, yet it resonated with women worldwide who could relate to Loretta's remarks about their predicaments. Turning pain into music. Loretta Lynn's artistic talent emerged from a life of unvarnished, sometimes traumatic experiences, rather than from formal education or commercial polish. Loretta turned adversity into very personal and incredibly relevant music by drawing directly from her own experiences, in contrast to many musicians who created fabricated stories or relied on well-honed industry formula. Don't Come Home a Drinkin' with Lovin' on Your Mind, her 1967 breakout single, was a scathing indictment of her relationship with Doolittle, not a fantasy. The song revealed her annoyance with a spouse who would come home intoxicated and demanding, a reality that many American women could relate to. A cultural shift. As the first #1 country song by a female solo performer, its popularity signaled a cultural shift. It demonstrated a significant market for songs that presented honest realities from a female perspective. Fist City, a fierce hymn aimed at a genuine lady who'd been staring at her husband throughout performances, further showed her bravery in tackling such subjects. Instead of portraying herself as the patient, quiet wife, Loretta used the song to publicly warn that if she crossed the line, there would be repercussions. Her refusal to back down. Loretta's reluctance to back down was radical at a time when ladies in country music were supposed to be modest or beautifully forlorn. The song's confrontational tone initially made some radio stations hesitant to broadcast it, but listeners loved it nonetheless. A silent anger that many women felt but had never heard spoken on the radio was given shape by her voice. Loretta's status as an artist who wasn't afraid to sing what others were too timid to express was cemented when Fist City shot to #1. Beyond her initial successes, Loretta's collection evolved into a kind of social chronicle of a woman's experiences in America in the mid-20th century. Songs that dared to touch on forbidden topics like divorce and birth control, like The Pill and Rated X, were smoking guns. Prohibitions and controversies. Despite being banned and causing controversy, the widespread popularity of these songs demonstrated how profoundly Loretta's unapologetically honest lyrics resonated with the public. She provided both affirmation and entertainment. She made it possible for women to express their pride, rage, aggression, and exhaustion through music. Her words served as lifelines, giving her audience a voice that could relate to their everyday suffering and annoyance, as well as their delight. Instead of glorifying pain, she drew attention to it and ensured it was heard. Her legendary status. In 2025, as the Grand Ole Opry celebrates its centennial, Water, Not Fire runs through it. By then, Loretta had already achieved a legendary reputation in the music industry as a truth singer. In addition to their memorable songs, tribute shows recognized Don't Come Home a Drinkin' and The Pill for their profound cultural influence. Young artists saw her as the one who made it possible for them to convey their own experiences freely. Her legacy was not only about chart success, but about authenticity in country music. Thus, Loretta Lynn contributed to redefining what a country song might be by using public art to transform private anguish, leaving behind a collection of work as potent as the woman who made it. Tragic loss of Jack Benny Lynn. The death of a child is the kind of tragedy that no parent ever wants to go through, and Loretta Lynn went through it in 1984. At the age of 34, her son Jack Benny Lynn passed away in a terrible accident on the family's property near Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. Jack tried to cross the Duck River, a notorious dangerous location, while out on horseback. He's said to have drowned after being flung from his horse and hitting his head on a rock. Jack's corpse wasn't recovered until later, but the horse was found waiting obediently at the river's bank. Hospitalized due to exhaustion. Loretta was exhausted and admitted to the hospital in Illinois at the time of the accident. It was Doolittle who had to break the heartbreaking news. The profound emotional and physical impact of the occasion was highlighted when Loretta passed out from sadness and was admitted to the hospital once again. Because of their unique closeness, Jack was often referred to as Loretta's favorite child, not because she loved him more than the others. Despite having a reputation for partying and carrying on his father's wild streak, Jack had started to settle down in the months leading up to his passing, demonstrating a dedication to his wife and kids. Loretta had been optimistic about his future and pleased with his change. In addition to being heartbreaking, his death seemed premature, ending what she thought would be the start of a brighter chapter in his life. She felt unsettled by the circumstances. Later, Loretta acknowledged that she was uneasy about the situation and periodically expressed concern that something about the accident didn't sit well with her. But beyond the official explanation, nothing was ever confirmed. Despite her genuine anguish, she chose to focus on her job and use the music room as a cathartic space rather than hiding beneath the covers. The tones of her subsequent songs were infused with that atmosphere, a softer tone, a more contemplative one, and a deeper dosage of grief. She would not be able to record a single song that specifically mentioned him. In later years, Jack was often mentioned in interviews because Loretta would talk about how the loss of this extraordinary guy troubled her. She spoke about the oppressive stillness that now pervaded the ranch where he used to walk, the unrelenting aching that would not go away, and the guilt she felt for being absent when he died. Her resilience. Her ability to bounce back from personal setbacks gave her a superstructure that loomed over her contemporaries and admirers. In the honors given to Loretta during the Grand Ole Opry's centennial celebration in 2025, Jack's legacy was subtly but powerfully apparent. A mother mourning behind a tangle of glitzy occupations and courageous songs, her sorrow had become part of her public persona. In a way that no award or popular song ever could, the tragedy made Loretta more relatable. It extends beyond her artistic achievements in the country music community, as she's honored at the Opry. Nobody understands how to focus on a single interest while enduring such unbearable suffering. Loretta's being celebrated for her ability to continue singing, which requires Herculean effort. Her capacity to endure such tragedy without giving up and instead finding comfort in her work is among the most significant aspects of her lasting impact. She was shocked when an odd figure entered the studio just as everything appeared to be settling down. Loretta's final encounter with Johnny Cash. Even though Loretta Lynn encountered the inexplicable before, one unsettling incident in the latter years of her career stuck out. She had a chilling encounter in 2016 while recording her Grammy-nominated album Full Circle at Johnny Cash's Cabin Studios in Hendersonville, Tennessee. She halted mid-song, clearly surprised as she sang one of Johnny's tunes. She subsequently reported to others in attendance that she saw a guy in a gray suit enter the room. She insisted that the man was Johnny Cash. Others could have been dubious due to the studio's low illumination, but Loretta's response was immediate and genuine. She thought it was authentic, but she didn't say she imagined it or romanticized it as meaningful. The location's emotional and historic importance made this moment much more significant. Constructed by Johnny in 1978, the studio has evolved into a creative hub for both established performers and emerging musicians. Johnny and June Carter Cash. Since she had long admired Johnny and June Carter Cash and collaborated closely with their son, John Carter Cash, who produced her subsequent recordings, Loretta had a tight relationship with the Cash family. The mystery was heightened by the fact that the sighting happened as a song associated with Johnny was being recorded. An artistic wink from a fellow icon whose presence had never entirely left the room, Loretta's experience seemed less like a fear and more like a visitation. Loretta has a lengthy history of dealing with the paranormal. She said her house near Hurricane Mills, Tennessee was haunted. Her experience, which ranged from shadowy figures appearing on balconies to phantom Civil War troops, were all the same. Instead of approaching the paranormal as an anomaly, she included it in her storytelling and narrative by writing songs about her experiences, such as This Haunted House. Loretta never really sensationalized the incidents, seeing them as a natural part of life. She didn't care much about other people's beliefs, as she was sure of what she had seen, felt, and heard over the years. Country woman and a storyteller. A fascinating fusion of authentic countrywoman and spooky storyteller emerged as a result of her openness to the unexpected. For those who had worked with Loretta and remembered her spirit, the sound of ghosts in the studio revived at the 2025 Grand Ole Opry Centennial. This was not intended to be frightening. Instead, it emphasized the close-knit ties that country music has, which cut beyond time, geography, and perhaps even death. By celebrating Loretta and Johnny together, the Opry acknowledged both the memorable yet fleeting presence on sacred ground and their enduring musical contributions. That day at the studio wasn't a ghost tale to Loretta, who trusted her gut and told it like it was. Instead, it was a last goodbye from a longtime friend. Collaborations and musical evolution. Loretta Lynn demonstrated throughout her career that reinvention was not impeded by age or legacy. Among the most notable instances was her 2004 collaboration with Jack White, the rock frontman of the White Stripes, on the groundbreaking album Van Leer Rose. While many of her contemporaries had withdrawn from the spotlight, Loretta shocked the industry by releasing an unvarnished, emotionally impactful album that she wrote entirely herself. Without changing who she was, White helped her reach a younger, rock-leaning audience by serving as a facilitator rather than a mentor. The end product was a selection of songs that combined a strong sense of country history with a contemporary edge and a sense of urgency. In addition to winning 2 Grammy Awards, the endeavor served as a poignant reminder to the world that Loretta's voice, both artistically and literally, remained very important. Collaboration with respect. This partnership was based on the principle of respect. Instead of attempting to modernize or refine Loretta, Jack White embraced the unadulterated passion of her stories and infused them with Appalachian folk, garage rock, and blues compositions. As the crown gem Portland, Oregon was a seductive duet that demonstrated that genuineness transcends genre. Critics praised the album for its bold candor, which woke up a new generation of listeners who may not have been familiar with Loretta as coal miner's daughter. Nevertheless, they now saw her as a creative force that defied fading into nostalgia. Bold and celebratory statement. In her 90s, Loretta's spirit of cooperation became stronger. Under the guidance of June Carter Cash and her daughter Patsy Lynn Russell, she completed her 46th studio album, Still Woman Enough, in 2021, and made a daring and joyous statement. The strongest female country music artists, including Reba McEntire, Carrie Underwood, Tanya Tucker, and Margot Price, among others, are featured on the CD. These partnerships were like handshakes across generations, with Loretta reaching back to encourage the women who were following the route she helped create. A testament to female empowerment. Loretta Lynn's 46th studio album, Still Woman Enough, was released in March 2021 and served as a powerful testament to her enduring significance. At the age of 88, Loretta was reaffirming her timeless voice in country music while also reflecting on her pioneering career. The record, which was co-produced by John Carter Cash and her daughter Patsy Lynn Russell, was an homage to the ladies who inspired the genre. 3 generations of female country music artists came together for the title single, which included Reba McEntire and Carrie Underwood, and reinforced the idea of togetherness and resiliency. Through creative mashups and contemporary partnerships and remade classics, the past and present were connected. Songs like You Ain't Woman Enough with Tanya Tucker and One's on the Way featuring Margot Price were given new life by re-examining well-known themes in novel ways and modern settings. Loretta reclaimed these songs as the starting points of intergenerational dialogues rather than just playing old classics again. She demonstrated how far women have gone in the country industry and how far they still have to go by playing the roles of mentor and idol. A cultural historian. The personal narrative also played a significant role in the album's impact. In Coal Miner's Daughter Recitation, Loretta recounted her early years in a brutally honest manner, while My Love was a tribute to her late spouse. Keep on the Sunny Side honored the Carter family's musical legacy. She became a cultural historian as well as a country icon because of these songs. Still Woman Enough, an album that demonstrated her voice's ability to touch generations, both physically and figuratively, was hailed as one of the pivotal pieces of her late career as the Grand Ole Opry celebrated its 100th anniversary in 2025. Loretta's final years and legacy. Even as her health deteriorated, Loretta Lynn continued to embody the passion and tenacity that had characterized her entire existence in her final years. She had a crippling stroke at home in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee in 2017. She had to postpone the publication of her album, Wouldn't It Be Great?, a project with significant personal meaning, and cancel forthcoming tour dates as a result of the tragedy. Her health became much more complicated in early 2018 when she injured her hip in a fall, just months after she'd recovered. Instead of letting her body decide the conclusion of her narrative, Loretta continued to concentrate on her music at an age when many would have opted to retire quietly. The tenacity that had propelled her from Butcher Hollow to international fame was extended by her will to continue creating and interacting. A remarkable presence. Loretta remained active in the music scene and online through her recuperation. She often posted updates on social media, giving followers a peek into her everyday life and demonstrating that she still had her fighting spirit and sense of humor. With the support of her family and old colleagues, she continued to write and record songs despite having limited mobility. Still Woman Enough, her 2021 album, was a spectacular comeback both musically and figuratively. Her last gift to the country music industry was an album filled with themes of strength and sisterhood, serving as a poignant reminder that despite being in her late 80s, she was still a storyteller with something important to say. Loss of a legend. At the age of 90, Loretta passed away quietly in her sleep on October 4, 2022, at her beloved ranch near Hurricane Mills, Tennessee. Her death marked the end of a remarkable chapter in American music. Her family requested privacy while they mourned and talked about her with pride and sadness in a public statement. An appropriate conclusion to a life that never deviated from its Appalachian origins, Loretta's ultimate resting place was the ranch where she'd sought sanctuary and fostered her artistic endeavors for decades. She was buried next to Doolittle, her life's companion, and two of their children, as it was above ground that she found so much inspiration. A legacy far beyond her music. Beyond her songs, Loretta Lynn has left a lasting impact. She broke down boundaries with honesty, confidence, and a refusal to fit in, redefining what it meant to be a woman in country music. Her songs were a voice for working-class families, women, and anybody else marginalized who had been silenced for a long time. She was a trailblazer who dared to speak the truth about the business when fantasy was sometimes the safer option. But she was much more than just a hitmaker. Then, amid the most significant celebration in country music, Loretta made a triumphant comeback. Honoring a legend. No celebration of the Grand Ole Opry's 100th anniversary in 2025 would be complete without paying homage to one of its most recognizable members, Loretta Lynn. Even though she'd only been gone for a few years, her presence was there the whole time. The organization devoted a full evening honoring Loretta's legacy on May 13th as part of the Opry 100 Honors Series. Family, long-standing partners, and current celebrities whose impact she had influenced were all present at the ceremony. Her sister, Crystal Gale, granddaughter, Emmy Russell, and the group Twitty and Lynn, which consisted of her and Conway Twitty's descendants and carried on a musical tradition she had helped create, gave some of the most moving performances. A multi-generational conversation. The homage was more than simply a performance, it was a musical dialogue across generations. In addition to performing Loretta's songs, Opry members Ashley McBryde, Martina McBride, and Carly Pierce reinterpreted them with a contemporary twist, showing respect for the original. These musicians highlighted Loretta's music's ongoing importance, with several of them openly referring to her as an inspiration. They performed to demonstrate that her voice, message, and bravery are still very much relevant in today's rural environment, not to honor her. Every concert served as a reminder that Loretta wasn't simply a hitmaker, she also established a standard for how to use music to express the truth. Reba McEntire, who paid tribute to Loretta, and another country star, Patsy Cline, provided some of the most intensely emotional moments. Reba McEntire's courtesy. She opened with a melancholic a cappella rendition of Sweet Dreams of You before launching into Loretta's signature song of resistance and power, You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man. Because both Cline and Lynn were women who broke barriers, their legacies were intentionally linked, and the Opry stage paid tribute to them by establishing its foundation in the pioneering spirits they embodied. In addition to honoring a historic location, the centenary celebration served as a statement of the creative and cultural significance of Loretta Lynn's accomplishments. In this homage, her presence, which had always been bigger than life on the Opry stage, was tenderly maintained and projected into the future as a reminder and a beacon of hope. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon